Hello, Steve Mills here, and welcome to this podcast. It's great to be back talking to you live on my podcast, and I'm really excited today to show and share with you what I call my business success sort of blueprint. Now, I've got to say, this is not my blueprint. This is something I took from somebody that I've learned a lot from over the years, and I spend a lot of my time and effort learning from what I call the best in the world. Now, one guy that I definitely put into that group is Tony Robbins. You may have known Tony. Many people do. He's very, very famous, very, very successful, and he has what he calls his system for success. I'm just adapting this for business, okay? So just want to be clear, this is not Steve's great idea, but something he's learned, or I've learned from, one of the world's leading experts. So, how do you become more successful in business? That's a really good question to ask, and one that's, confines so many small businesses. They just simply don't know. People go into business with a great idea. They're going to do this and they're going to make millions, and what actually happens in reality is often a lot less than that. They finish up working 12, 14 hours a day to earn about enough money to keep in business, some of which go bust. 80% of small businesses go bust within 5 years. The remaining 20% are, absolute heroes, really, because they're in the top 20%, and they spend a lot of their time and effort running their business, and it becomes a sort of almost an all-consuming thing. It's like their life almost. I know that because I've definitely been there. And Robbins' secret of success is a 5-step formula, and the first step, and this is a step that so many businesses miss out on, is know what you want. Know what you want. If you're going to get somewhere, you've got to know what you want. Where is there? People say, well, I want to grow my business. Well, here's £1. That's all you need. You've got some more money now. And they go, no, I want to grow it much more than that. Well, how much? Where do you want to be? What do you want to achieve in the next month? What is your sales target for the next month? Most small businesses haven't got a clue. What is your target for the next year? What are your goals for the next 3 months, for 5 years? And what will your business look like when it's finally done? When you get it to a level and to a time that you want to sell it. And when will that be? All great questions to ask under the heading of know what you want. The second step, and this is another area that businesses miss out on, is take action. Right? Now, that doesn't mean go to work doing whatever you do. It means take action to get you from wherever you are to wherever you want to get to. In other words, closing the gap. Now, I want to be really clear about this. This doesn't mean doing the work of the business. It means working on the business to get it to the level that you've just decided it's got to go to. So if you're an accountant, it doesn't mean sitting there doing accounts. If you're a landscape gardener, it doesn't mean going out there cutting grass and doing whatever they do. If you're a hairdresser, it's not about cutting hair, it's about building a business that cuts hair. And that's one of the biggest differences that I find with small businesses. So go to work on it and not in it. I'm sure you've heard that many, many times, but the key is, for me, and it should be absolutely for you, is to know what you want and then take action towards getting what you want, whatever that may be. What about step 3? Well, step 3 is measuring what's working and what's not. Robbins calls it having sensory acuity. In other words, what's working. Because you know what you want to get to, I'll use a figure of, say, $1 million a year turnover with a 25% profit, let's say. You started taking action towards that. The big question is that action working? Is it moving you closer to your goal, or is it actually moving you further away? Because sometimes you can take action on something and it doesn't work. It's actually, if you spend a load of money on Google pay-per-click setting up a business, I set up a business as a landscape gardener. I know zero. You can write what I know about landscape gardening and planting plants and cutting grass and whatever on the back of a stamp. And so that wouldn't probably be a good idea. So step 1, again to reiterate, know what you want. Step 2, take action. 3, measure to see what's happening along the way. Now this doesn't mean, if your goal is to create an extra £200,000 worth of business in the next quarter, that doesn't mean get to the next quarter and realise you've not done it. It means measure it along the way. You don't want to get there and realise, you want to grow your business to £1 million in the next 2 years, and you get to the end of 2 years and go, oh, well, I've not done anything. You need to measure it now. Where are you now? Where are you in a month's time? Where are you the month after that? And so on and so forth. Step 4 is, again, such a really powerful tool. If you're not getting the result that you want, you've got to change your approach. I think it was Einstein who apparently said, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing again and again and again and expecting a different result. You've got to do something different. If you're in a job, in a business where you work, going to work, making it, shipping it, selling it, offering the service, providing the service, busy, and you just keep doing that, you're going to get the same results that you've always got. Doesn't that absolutely make sense? And so if you want different results, you've got to change your approach. Now, it might be that you change your approach and that doesn't work. What would you do then? Well, you change your approach again. And what happens if that doesn't work? What would you do? You change your approach. And if that doesn't work, what would you do? You change your approach. The question is, how often would you keep changing your approach until you find what works? Until you find what works, and then you'll be successful. Okay? How long would you give your average baby to learn to walk before you told them not to do it anymore? My son or my daughter or my child's going to keep trying until they find what works. I remember listening to Tony Robbins saying that. That must be, 8-10 years ago that I went on his workshop, and I thought, that's so true, Tony. And yet most people, I've been doing this, helping businesses in marketing for years and years and years, and what they do, what so many business owners do, they go, well, I'll try Google pay-per-click advertising. They try it for a month, they don't win any business, so they stop doing that because that doesn't work. And then they'll go off and they'll hire an outsourced SEO company. And they do that, and then 2 months later it's not worked, and so they go off and do something else. And they try email marketing, and they send out 5 or 6 emails, and then decide that email marketing is a waste of money, and nobody reads emails anymore. I see this time and time again in small businesses, and I really hope my passion is coming across here, because I've just seen it so often. And people behave sort of like butterflies. They flip from one thing to another, never being really determined to let's just conquer and really understand, for example, how to use Facebook pay-per-click advertising. I'm really going to get to a level where I know and understand it really, really well, and I'm going to make a success of it in my business. And when I'm done with that, my next step is to move on to LinkedIn. I'm going to get that one there, and so on and so forth. And that for me is absolute gold. Now, the good news is they're the top 4. So remember, just to recap, know what you want, take action, measure to see if it's working or not. And if it's not working, change your approach, keep changing, keep testing, keep using a different headline, different text, different strategy, until you get what works. Now, there is a way of shortcutting that opportunity, and that is to model success. That's what Tony says. Model success. What does that mean? That means go and find somebody who's got what you want, do the same things, and get the same results. Now, I was always told at school copying other people was cheating. What a load of rubbish that was. The best was find somebody who really knows and understands something, do the same things, get the same results. So, if that's the secret of success, then, my question is, why aren't you doing it? Because I can tell you now, you probably aren't. I obviously don't know you personally, but what I do know is that I've been working with thousands of businesses in hundreds of industries, and when I meet them, they have no clue about those 5 things. Certainly they don't know where they want to go. They're taking some action, but they never really change. They behave like butterflies, as I mentioned. They don't have any sensory acuity. They can't tell me how many people have been to their website, how many leads they got, what was their conversion rate, what is their average unit of sale, how many leads they got from LinkedIn, how many leads from email marketing, what's their open rate. All this knowledge, this marketing knowledge and sales knowledge is missing from 99.9% of the small businesses that I've spoken to and with and advised for nearly 30 years. As far as, basically mentoring or finding someone that can help and advise you, somebody at a level that knows about this stuff, again, a lot of businesses do it, they try it, but they don't really succeed. And, for me, you need to, if you've got a marketing problem, let's put it this way, if you've got a marketing problem or a sales problem or a recruitment problem or a finance problem, it all comes down to the fact that possibly, just possibly, your skills aren't good enough in that particular area. I see so many business owners, again, they say to me, well, I'm not really a salesperson. I recently spoke at an event with 1,000 people in the room, big event up in Birmingham, and I said to everybody, hands up, who's responsible for sales in their business? I got 1,000 hands. Okay, hands up, who's done any sales training in the last 5 years? I got about 50 hands. So 950 people were trusting one of the most important parts of their business to someone who hasn't been bothered to get any training whatsoever for over 5 years. Now, maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm from Planet Zorb. But I can tell you now that if they work for me, if those people were in my sales team, if they were my sales directors and managers, I'd sack them. If you've not done any sales training for 5 years and you're responsible for sales in your business, you should sack yourself. I'd say that obviously tongue-in-cheek, but you seriously should do something about it. I see people doing things like, they do their Google pay-per-click is a great example, because Google pay-per-click advertising is actually fairly complex. It's fairly, in-depth, and there's a lot to it. It's a very sophisticated tool, and often it's been, run by amateurs. And I don't mean that in a horrible way. I mean it in a absolutely true way. And when I say amateurs, I mean people who've not been trained. They don't understand it really. They think it's easy to set up, and they just throw a load of money at it and finish up, 6 weeks or 6 months later without a clue where their money's gone, and with very few leads. So that's all I've got to say. I sort of feel as though I've been on a bit of a rant here, and I suppose I have. But I really hope, I've given you some food for thought. I hope I've impressed you from a point of view on, I've impressed upon you the need for you to change and take your business to the next level. This whole podcast is called Raise Your Game. And that's really what it's about. That's what I'm suggesting to you here you need to do. Don't be confined, don't be restricted by your business right now. If you're not happy with where you are, if you're seriously committed to closing the gap from where you are now to where you want to be, then you've got to do something different. You've got to take action. If you want any help with that, I'd love to either train you, coach you one-to-one, coach you as part of my private practice group session, or help you in some other way. If you want to talk to me about that, feel free to give me a call. My telephone number is 01256 242 272. Thanks again for listening, and as ever, take action. Thanks very much.